The Yarmouth County Museum is home to many artifacts from southwestern Nova Scotia. But Sharon Robart Johnson is most proud of those showcasing Black history.
Over here we have the first Black Nova Scotian to join the RCMP.
Robart Johnson is on the wall herself, recognized as the first to write a book about Black people in the area. She's now released her second, focusing on Jude, a young slave murdered in Nova Scotia in 1800.
The night before she died, she went in the pantry, as she was doing quite often because she was being starved. She and her sister were being starved. And she went in the pantry and she tried to steal a loaf of bread and a piece of cheese.
Court records show she was beaten to death.
Then there was a trial, surprisingly, because usually white slave owners aren't taken to task for what they do to their slaves.
But they were, and then what happened?
They were acquitted. It's as simple as that.
Runaway, Joseph Odell and Peter Lawrence, Negroes, from their masters.
We went to the Nova Scotia archives to learn more about the history of slavery. In 1750, there were about 400 slaves among Halifax's population of 3,000.
In the newspaper collection, you find those advertisements for runaway slaves, occasional ads for selling slaves.
That's why this woman says it's important to mark Emancipation Day.
It's really a moment for us to think about what slavery was and what slavery was in Canada and what then the enslaved people in 1834 would have been celebrating their freedom from.
She founded the new Institute for the Study of Canadian Slavery and hopes to help educate all Canadians.
The average American you speak to absolutely understands that they have a deep multi-century history of slavery. The average Canadian, if we were to stop 10 people walking down Duke Street, we'd be lucky if one of them said, yes, I know slavery happened here.
For Robart Johnson, whose fourth great-grandfather was a runaway slave, the designation of Emancipation Day is too little, too late.
One of the Andrews boys beating Jude.
This carving is now also on display at the museum. Robart Johnson is focused on telling the personal stories of Jude and her sister.
Because no one had heard them, and no one would have listened anyway during the time. So now their stories have been told.
One small piece of a long history of slavery here at home. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia.
For more on this, we're joined by Ngozi Paul, an actor, producer, and activist, and she's helped advocate for the official designation of Emancipation Day. So, Ngozi, the House of Commons voting unanimously to mark Emancipation Day. How significant is that for you?
I think that this is a step in the right direction. It's a major accomplishment for Canada, for Canadian culture, for us to really have an understanding of the nuances and diversity of our history, and for us to decide as a nation how we want to celebrate moving forward. What does it really mean to be Canadian, and what does freedom mean in 2021?
I feel like there are a lot of Canadians who don't really understand the history of slavery in Canada, for example. And so what would you say to them? And what should they be thinking about on Emancipation Day?
Well, I would say you're not alone. I certainly was one of the people who didn't understand the history of African Canadians, having never learned about many of those details in school, even with parents who are Pan-Africanists. I think that it's an opportunity for us to to bring to light things that have been hidden, and for us to, again, decide how we want to move forward together as a country.
All right. And Ngozi, really nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too. Thank you.